Hello everyone. I am present here on behalf of the Department of Public Administration, School of Social Sciences, Mizoram University, Aizawl. I speak on behalf of all my colleagues, namely Professor Lalin Truanga, Professor Lalini Jovi, Professor A. Muthulakshmi, Dr. Laltan Pui Ralte, Dr. N. Irina Devi, Mr. Babuji, and Mr. Jacob V.L. Umpuya, our guest faculty. Today, before I go to the topic of today, what is in the screen, I think little bit of discussion required because my little talk about IEC, Information, Education and Communication. Regarding information part, let me tell that this university, Mizoram University, has informed the faculty, research scholars and students that we all will go for online education with the help of all available web portals, online platforms, mobile phone and even personal communication because of the COVID-19 lockdown. And this information has reached all the students. I am very happy that my colleagues and students have coped up with this situation very well. Then before coming to education, let me go to communication. Here in this case, we have two issues. One is communication deficit, one is miscommunication. So we all should agree that miscommunication is to be avoided. All the students of the university should go to the Mizoram University official website, UGC and MHRD notifications and also their teachers. Same for our students also. And regarding communication deficit, we all are trying so that we can have a better online pedagogy, teaching learning situation in Mizoram University. So now coming to the topic which I have decided, before going to that topic, I made a random survey with 4th semester and 2nd semester students. They raised a number of queries regarding the courses. For example, the 4th semester student, they asked a number of questions. One was the link among corporate finance, corporate governance and good governance. And if I speak one sentence about this, it will be the basic principles like transparency, responsiveness, openness and also following rules and regulations or rule of law. Someone else told why India has not become a permanent member of UN Security Council. You know, there are many issues, but one issue which comes to my mind is that India, when it was British India, was part of the original 51 signatories of UN Charter in 1955 when we were not a free country. India has been 7 times non-permanent member of UN Security Council, that is 7 into 2 for 14 years during these 75 years of existence. And when India is there, India with the clout it has in global diplomatic sphere, someday India can also become, along with Brazil, Japan, Germany, possibly. One student asked a question, is Gandhian approach of development is applicable today into Indian development scenario? My answer is emphatic yes, because Gandhiji told always, India lives in our villages. The day we will have self-contained, self-reliant village republics, India will be developed definitely. Then somebody from 2nd semester asked one issue regarding bureaucracy, the views of Robert K. Morton. The question was, what is meant by the mechanical application of rules as against welfare of the people? I told that the idea is that we should have this particular issue, that the same rules can lead to functions and dysfunctionalities. For example, somebody will go to office, will work, but that doesn't help the people, the citizens, the stakeholders. This is dysfunctional. But when the people, they come, get the benefit out of the governmental functioning, that is structure, output and outcome, then only we can have functions. And last but not least, one issue which today I would like to take up a little bit, that is local self-government and civil society organizations, the participants in crisis management, a study in Northeast India. This is a part of the course in 4th semester. Now we will come to the topic, local self-government and civil society organizations in Northeast India, partners in crisis management. This particular topic is for the 4th semester students of Mizoram University, and this is part of local self-government in India, the course which is for local self-government in India. And as all of us know, Northeast India continues to be an enigma, a beautiful mosaic of color, people, culture, language, religion, dance, music, and these people are called the singing birds of India, and I think singing birds of the world. And Mizoram, the beautiful land, houses this Mizoram University with which we all are associated. You know, Northeast India, if you look at this particular slide, you will know that it is colorful and also green. And today, when you look at Northeast India, it is the biodiversity hotspot, the breathing ground of the country for Asia and in some bit of the world. So Northeast India is a place where we mix culture with color. Friends, local self-government institutions have a very long history in this country. Beginning from Lord Ripon's time, even Vedic time, India had different types of local self-government institutions, beginning with the concept of Panch, or 5 wise men of the village. But it came to a very, very significant stoppage when it was 1992 in India's 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments, by which the rural and urban local self-government institutions got constitutional status and validity. Very interestingly, Northeast India has almost all varieties of these institutions. Take the rural. We have the village councils, we have village panchayats, we have panchayat samitis, we have Jilla Parishad, and under 6 scheduled areas we have the village councils and also autonomous district councils. And in Tripura we have tribal development council. Come to urban, we have municipal corporation, municipal council or municipality, and Aizawl, we had some days back Aizawl Development Authority, some kind of urban institution, but not exactly urban local self-government. Today, Northeast India represents that culture where we have all categories of local self-government institutions that are found in the entire country of India. Friends, when you look at this, you know, this part we have got in Jammu and Kashmir and in Northeast India, the autonomous district councils under 6th schedule, where these people, the tribal people, they have the autonomy, they have their rules, regulations, and suppose a typical ADC looks like it has a CEM, Chief Executive Member. It has EMs, executive members. It has different departments, agencies that we find in a typical governmental setup in a state. But they have a symbiotic link because of the Constitution of India. It is getting funds from the center and state, but still the dynamics are there. And this institution is very unique because the people of these regions, they get manifestation of their wishes aspirations, dreams, and developmental needs. Coming to the next part of the presentation, civil society organizations. Friends, when we talk about civil society, it is just a big conglomerate. It has got so many constituents that defy any kind of definition or logic. You name it, it is there. From people to groups, from media to organizations, from business to trade, from advocacy groups to interest groups, from pressure groups to human rights groups, women, children, persons with disabilities, old age people, you name it, it is there. And this CSO is very old because it has a very big role to play in a democratic setup. Friends, you know that Robert D. Putnam, who made a study in Italy, the civic engagements in Italy, he came out with the theory that southern Italy versus northern Italy. And the difference is the development index of northern Italy is better because they have a better civil society and social capital. In southern Italy it is little bit less. So that is the way civil society group they play a role. And what do? They talk about trust, connectedness, the type of well-being of the people. And in Northeast India, this is the hallmark of the society, the state, and the socio-political and economic system. Friends, this is the logo of YMA, Young Mizo Association, one of the largest and the oldest CSOs in Mizoram, and it is so pervading that you can get members from any age group, and they have their presence felt in the Mizo society, where they talk about development issues, they talk about people, and they are at the forefront of any initiative by the government to complement and supplement. Then the role and responsibilities of local self-governments and civil society groups in northeastern region, particularly this global health pandemic and this COVID-19 issue. Friends, as all of you know, that if you have gone through some newspaper articles, you have gone through some kind of media reports, that Northeast is one area which is relatively free from this pandemic. People come and go. They are also in other parts of the country and the world, but because of the way they look at life, the way they behave, and the way they look at sustainable development, that living in harmony with nature, very clean atmosphere, people, clean mind also, that has something to do with this kind of situation in Northeast India, where local self-government, civil society groups, governmental institutions, they all in synergy, in coordination, in cooperation, so that they have played a very, very positive, constructive role in case of global pandemic. Friends, this is a photo from Arunachal Pradesh, the part of India which is close to China border, and the name says it is the place where we see the sun ray first in the country. And Arunachal, the picture shows about the corona warriors, the young people, the doctors, the paramedics, the volunteers who are helping the people. And this is the place where in Northeast India, in all the states, this is a part of their life, because helping others, others before self, is the motto in Mizo, in most of the tribes of Northeast India, and that signifies by this photo. Friends, now coming to Mizoram, the front runner. You know, last week, almost all language papers, web portals in India, they were simply full of pictures, full of positive, constructive, appreciative news about Mizoram. Because this is a place where discipline comes naturally. This is a place where people, they accepted lockdown as a part of life. This is a place where voluntarism is in their blood. And Mizoram's example is emulated in other parts of the country and preferably by other parts of the world where it is a global pandemic. Mizoram has given this idea that if people support voluntarily, they participate in the governmental activity like their own action, then any program can be successful. And Mizoram has given this idea to India and to the world. And the civil society groups here, the local self-government institution here, they are at the forefront. They are the torch bearers of this movement, the great social movement, because health, life, they are more important than any other human activity or endeavor. Friends, this is a photo you must have seen that in internet it is full. A boy from Kolasib in Mizoram. He has his piggy bank. He broke that piggy bank, got 333 rupees. He sent it to the Chief Relief Fund to Mr. Joram Thanga, the Chief Minister of Mizoram. This is one photo. It's a very tiny effort, but it has a giant leap for humanity. That this has to be emulated by one and all. And this photo is everywhere in internet. When people talk about it, we feel so proud of the place that this gives one example that humanity, humanism, and human endeavor can achieve wonders. Then here there are many issues and challenges. You know, everything good is acceptable, but sometimes there are some issues. Friends, as in the case of public administration in government, overlapping, so many functions being duplicated by same agencies, that creates a trouble for local self-government, trouble for the civil society groups, trouble for individual activists, and this is a big challenge. Then sometimes lack of coordination. You know, when we get 2-3 types of notices for the same activity, there is a problem. Regarding lockdown, regarding accepting some kind of governmental order, there are 3 different types of orders from 3 different agencies. One from center, one from state, one from local authorities. So that is a big issue in which we can make some kind of correction. Then sometimes, friends, I'll tell you that only yesterday's news you might have seen. The news is on 19th of April, one state government in India, that is Odisha state government, has given some wonderful news about local self-government. The state government in Odisha has given the powers of collector, district collector or deputy commissioner in Mizoram and Northeast to the village panchayat head, sarpanch. The village panchayat head is given the power of collector. That solves a lot of problem because in this country, you know, we have got 7,50,000 villages and maybe close to 6 lakh village panchayats. And they are the backbone of this country. We call India our motherland. So when the villages, they have a unified command, they have a common issuing authority for activities, then definitely India will be a better place to live in. So when we have such issues and challenges, I think it is one area of concern, challenge. And friends, this word challenge is very beautiful. You know, people say, I face problem. I say, we face challenge. Problem, little bit difficult, but challenge we can overcome. Together we can. With conviction, I can. So challenge can be overcome. So any problem, if we convert into challenge, we can overcome. And the people of Northeast, the local self-government institutions, the CSOs, they have that courage of conviction with them that they can convert any problem into challenge. And that is the issue where these issues can be tackled. You see how the people, because you know even today also, with little bit pinch of salt I can tell that Northeast is represented by a city called Guwahati. Even today. But the idea is Guwahati is the capital city, Dispur is within Guwahati, is the major city in the largest state called Assam. Here you see the lockdown. Do you feel it is a lockdown? That everything is done. They are having this chlorine water. People are moving on the street and everything is like normal day. But the issue is that you go to other parts of Northeast, there you will find, no, this is only one aberration, something which we should not happen. We should not have it. But the point is, I wanted to show because this is also part of the game. That's when 99% of people accept it, 1%. So they have coined two words in internet. One is COVIDient, one is COVIDiot. From COVID. COVIDient means those who accept the rules, regulations, because my life and your life are equally important. And COVIDiots, those who do not look into anything and they can go out of the place and they can go out of way to cause trouble for themselves and for others. So this is sadly the second part of my story. Then gender issues. Friends, you must be knowing that UN Secretary General, this particular regarding this issue, Mr. Antonio, he has told that the ladies in house, in workplace, in farms, in industries, in service sector, they are the worst sufferers because they have the double burden. As all of us know, the ladies in our families, in our society, they have the double burden. They take the burden of the work and burden of the family. So when this global pandemic came, the ladies, they have to do extra work in the house and at the same time outside. Many times in many parts of the country, in the world also, Mr. Antonio told that they go to fetch water, to get livelihood opportunities, to go for food, medicine. So all these basic necessities, ladies, they take care. So with global pandemic, this health emergency, ladies are the worst sufferers. So gender issues are coming up. And all of us know that when we think of a state, when we think of any society, again, we are reminded of the great saying of Mahatma Gandhi. If you want to develop a family, you can give education to some male person. If you want to develop the entire society or state, teach the lady first. That is the voice which is coming from here also. UN Secretary General says that with this global pandemic, when the people are in the forefront of a fight against one global pandemic, the ladies, they are the worst sufferers and also their health issues. All of us know that only yesterday we got the news that in Pune in Maharashtra, in Mumbai in Maharashtra, some of the lady health workers, their number is 41, they are affected. So, but they have their life, they have their family, but they have come out to help others, the other victims. So this is an eye-opener. So gender issues also come and we also should think that how can we mitigate this. Then there are some other issues. The issues may go from international border of Northeast. We can think about the migrant workers in Northeast, railway, air, road connectivity, the problems therein, then dependence on other parts of the country for our basic necessities. And in this case, these civil society groups, local self-government institutions can also complement and supplement the work by the governmental agencies. This is the picture during lockdown when huge truckload of items wait outside different cities of Northeast, but they cannot come because of lockdown. Then here, I will tell you this particular photo. You see, this is a usual picture in an Imphal market in Manipur. Ladies. Now, we talk about one more issue, that is besides providing food, medicine, essential items in Northeast India, one big issue is communication. And in 2 days' time, it's all about virtual communication, online communication. Because of electricity issues, internet issues, the civil society group, they have an additional responsibility of providing this connectivity to the people in far-flung areas, including the areas in which we do not have a proper electricity or net connectivity. And I think in this case, the civil society group, they can play a big role in providing micro-level alternative energy sources like solar power, which is very popular in many parts of the northeastern region. There, these groups, they can play a big role, and without waiting for the grid, the substation, the big electricity grids, they can go for alternative energy sources which can boost electricity connection and that of internet connectivity. Then when we talk about the future, what should be done now? I think the health yesterday's news that Mizoram got 9 big packets of medical equipment in Lengpui airport, where they got those personal protection equipment, PPEs, they have got the COVID C95 masks and many more medicines which are very much needed. So whenever we feel that such are the issues, then for this activity, we think even the engagement of part-time workers, volunteers with some payment is necessary, because most of these CSO groups, they simply work without any remuneration, without any kind of money being demanded by them, but that is need of the hour, that can be thought of. Then in future, I think whenever we talk about the system, public administration, development issues, welfare issues, little bit of flexibility is needed, and we try to have coordination, cooperation, synergy among the local self-government institutions, central, state and other district agencies, civil society groups and citizens in general. Now, with this photo, I would like to conclude that this is the village in Northeast India, in Meghalaya. It has been declared as the cleanest village in Asia. So if cleanest village, so then can we learn something from the village? That now everybody talks about cleaning the hand, having a clean environment, personal hygiene, protecting yourself and the environment, and Northeast India gives this idea that we can have a clean village, a clean place, clean environment. Thank you so much, and the journey continues. Thank you.